Hey guys, this is the Blue Collar Future Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Robison, and we've got our co-host, Jessie, today. What's up?
What's up,
Good,
man?
you?
How are you?
Dude,
Good, man. Good.
yeah.
Just chilling. Saturday,
Oh yeah,
nice
dude, it's
weather.
awesome out there. It was like hot and windy the other night and like super,
Mm-hmm.
super hot at night. And I was like, man, it must be getting ready to cool down. And I'm glad it did because it has been miserable the last few days.
Yeah. Bro, did you see I think it was Cody, Wyoming. They registered, they thought it was a tornado because there was a wind gust of like 147 miles an hour
Crap. No, it didn't.
last night. Yeah. I saw it on Facebook that they registered there was like, they registered it as a tornado and people had to like go out and look and be like, nope, it's just the
Gosh.
wind.
Dude, the freaking wind sucks. We That is one of
Yeah.
our least favorite things. We
Wild.
almost can't. I'm glad I don't live in Wyoming because that place is like everywhere there is super windy. It is crazy. It is crazy. So, dude, we were talking before we started recording. You got finished with that other project and have been taking some time
Mm-hmm.
and taking it easy a little bit. I think you went fishing the other day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I went and caught
Yeah.
some smallmouth. It
Took
was
a day
nice.
off.
Took a little day off. Yeah. Took a day off, told everybody I wasn't answering my phone, and
You
we're
know,
good.
sometimes people need to do a little more of that because like we all get in this
For
rat
sure.
race of just trying to get everything we can done, end up working weekends and stuff, and like for what? You know, like to appease these people that need projects done. I mean, a lot of times, like you
Yeah.
were saying, you guys felt like you're responsible to catch the project up because they were making it seem like that, but it wasn't your deal. And I think that's like a general contractor thing to do. It's like I need you to do this now. We're getting behind and all that type of crap. And it
Mm-hmm.
just puts a stress on everybody all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I had worked, I was working 4 10s and working Friday, some Saturday mornings. And then, but that week I'd done that and also worked on Sunday. I pulled 2 trailer loads off the job site. And so it's just like, I had to go up and do punch list at the temple in Montpelier. And I was like, hey, I'm going to get that done. And then y'all just don't talk to me for like 3
Did
days.
you did you
And
line
so
up
it's
what
nice.
the guys were gonna do the next day, or do they already know?
Yeah, they were already because they like I wasn't. I mean, when I went to Montpelier, I had 3 other guys with me to just knock out the punch list pretty quick. But after that, there's still the crew in Logan working on the cancer building and getting the Schreiber's wastewater ready. So like they knew where to go, and I was they're all pretty like everybody's pretty competent at this point. So.
Yeah, I think it'd be better if more people took a day here and there. I
Hmm.
know I know for me, like we work a lot during the week, and when we have to work Saturdays, I feel like since we don't do it very often, like it feels like my whole weekend's taken up by work. And then I'm like, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not one of those people that looks forward to the weekend, like, oh man, I don't have to work. I do enjoy the work. I do enjoy working, but when I gotta work
Hmm.
Saturdays, it just feels like now all of a sudden I'm just gone all the time. So just
Hmm.
get tired more, and those 2 days on the weekend are good to have. And then sometimes it's just good to take a day in the week to go do something fun
Yeah.
and recharge. I know you made a post the other day about how it's funny that we're all about safety and construction, and yet we've got people like pushing the limits on getting stuff done. And oh yeah, but safety, yeah, wear your hard hats.
Yeah. Wear your hard hat and your high vis. I was like, cool. What about like the dude's mental health because he hasn't seen his wife because you've been working him, 5 6 days a week? Like, oh no, that we can't quantify that. That doesn't fall into our policy.
Because it
It's
doesn't,
stupid,
it
bro.
doesn't make them money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Making people wear hard hats is just a patch on an issue and can make it look like they're, focused on safety. But oh yeah, work in these,
Yeah.
hot, unsafe conditions where you need to like just absolutely push the limit to get things done. So it's all production.
Yeah. And by the way, we're gonna put 3 other trades right on top of you too. Drives me nuts.
If only we had some like technology to help us with these problems, with like these scheduling issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Some technology and maybe some people to run it.
We we're gonna talk about like some technology in construction and like what we were saying, people do not want to accept that and use anything like that in construction nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like when like the assembly line, started to like take over and people didn't really like that, and some other types of things, like
Hmm.
things that can revolutionize the way you do stuff. People don't like the change, kind of resist it, and construction is really good at like resisting, every possible change that could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, construction's definitely like we do it this way. That's how we do it, and it's like, well, you don't
Yeah, and a lot
have
of
to.
things we do have been the same for a long time too, like a long time. So I mean, you guys use a few different softwares that have helped, and I think it's important to look at like what you guys use, and then like things that I've been wanting or thinking about, and the reasons why, and then some things that might fit into that, for examples. For
Hmm.
examples, but so you guys have been using Company Cam, all right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I use all the
And
time.
busy recently.
Yep, company cam,
Are there any
busy.
others that have been like things that people would look at and be like, "Oh, I don't need that. That it's a waste of time," and push back on really hard.
Yeah, so like, yeah, I use company cam. Obviously, I'm
Hmm.
partnered with them. You guys know that if you know my content. But company cam's dope because I can like it makes people. I guess the pushback would be like, well, I can just take pictures and send them anyway. It's like, well, with company cam, it's like, hey, they're not all just on my phone. Like I don't have to like I'm not there. It goes into a database. Like I put it on company cam, anybody can access it. It's all compiled there. I can send reports to the office. I can send reports to the GC. I can send reports to my employees and be like, hey, this is what needs to be done today. It just streamlines everything. So it's like the pushback is like, well, that's lazy. Like you're just not even doing your job. Or like AI is going to replace your job as because you're a foreman or a superintendent. And it's like, well, no, it's just a
Yeah.
tool. Like it's the same as like I could use my hand or I could use a shovel. Like it's the same concept in my brain. Like I'm just making the job more efficient and easier because it's then that allows me to do other things at the job that are more important, like worrying about handling all the issues instead of all the other stuff. So like you got company cam for that, or like busy, which is a local company to us here in Utah. They're like time cards and everything like that. I went a long time where I was doing time cards by hand, and it just got to the point where like on that student housing, we have 20 guys of our own, and it's like, well, so and so needs to show up late because they're doing this. So and so needs to leave early because of this. So and so didn't make it because of this. And then you add, we got up to like 60 guys at one point, and I'm trying to keep track of everything. I was like, I can't do this. And like, it turns into like, well, it's your word against mine about what hours you did and all this other stuff. And like, I don't like, not that anyone, is really that way on our crew, but it's like, this is so much easier because I'm like, hey, you clock in, you sign off on it, it's done. And like again, it's you get the concept like, oh well, this is stupid because like you could just do it. I'm like, I could, or I could make all of our lives easier and that it all goes in. I just file a report, done. It's stuff like that, or like, I mean, think about like because you just partnered with Jobber. Like Jobber makes again another thing. Like the old way is pen and paper, showing up to the job site, submitting your quotes, like all your invoices and stuff like that, doing your schedule. Like it's all these 5 points are different things, but Jobber, it's all inside one thing. Like you show up to a job, you can give them a quote, they can approve the quote in Jobber. You can send the invoice, and you can also schedule your guys and know
Hmm.
where your guys are at within that
Yeah.
app. And like, I don't know, it's just I think it's the old head mentality of like, no, we've always done it this way, so we're not going to do it. And it's like those people still expect them to print plans on giant plan books, like they cost six, seven hundred
Hmm.
dollars to print when they could just have it on their phone or their
Yeah.
iPad. Like it's the pushback is funny because it's like super
Hmm.
unnecessary of just like, hey, you use your phone every day. Why wouldn't you use it in work? Like it's silly at this point to deny that there's some software and technology that can help us in our little archaic industry that we have. We're still
Yeah.
cavemen, I
Yeah,
guess.
so like on that point of company cam specifically, I think I'm using the way that
Mm,
we're going to be using Jobber is a little bit more similar to what you're using company cam for. So we may actually want to try company cam, but I've been for a long time wanting to have a place where we can have everybody like if they see an issue, or they want to make a note of something, can take a picture, submit it, have your note in
hmm.
there like, oh hey, there's stuff splashed all over this house. We haven't poured yet. It's not ours. It's not concrete. But that could
Perfect.
definitely like come back and be like, hey, you guys did this. That's a great
Hmm.
thing to just blame on the concrete guys because there's a lot of concrete guys that splash all over the place and don't clean it up.
Yeah.
Or there'll be concrete splattered all over somehow and we haven't even worked there. But like and that's another thing. So you can take
Hmm.
pictures of that. You can take pictures of like pieces of sidewalk that's broken or like existing issues that, wasn't us. It's like make a note of this. This was already
Hmm.
here. So there's no question about what happened and who it was. And we can take a picture of the finished product, take a picture of something in the process we see, like all of that type of stuff that is nice to have. And
Hmm.
if you don't make that note, like even if you write it down, it'd be hard to find. Not everybody can see it and all that type of stuff. So I've been looking for something to
Yeah. Well, and you're
use
like,
that for,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. Well, and like Company Cam makes it easy because it's like I can go to the job site and be like, okay, here's all the photos for that job site versus like, hey, dude, one sec. Let me show you that that wall that you guys built is out of level. It's not the brick. But I'm going to scroll through all the photos of my dog asleep, like all
Yeah,
the other things that I have in my phone.
exactly.
Whereas I just log into Company Cam and I'm like, hey, here's the job site. Here's that specific wall. And I'm like, okay, you guys ran your framing 2 inches out of plumb. I can't keep up with that with the masonry. That's on
Exactly.
you, you know, or like, because, and that's the other thing with this technology of like Company Cam specifically takes care of the problem where construction used to be such like a handshake, like
Yep.
your word, my word, we're good. Now it's covering your ass and having a
Hmm.
paper trail. And Company Cam fills that, for me, fills that
Yep.
gap very easily because I can be like you said, it's like I can document the before, I can document what I saw, what our potential problems are, the other stuff around that wasn't us. And as long as you have it all documented, it's like, cool, well, I can prove it. Here's your email. And it solves that versus like back in the day, it was like, hey, dude, you know I didn't do that. And the GC's like, I know it was that way before. But now it's like, well, prove it, bro. And because they don't want to take
Yeah.
responsibility for anything
No,
anymore.
nobody does. I mean, this may sound like this is us and everybody wanting to be proactive and not have to be in this situation. Like what there shouldn't be this blame game going on. And yeah, if you don't have proof, then it's like, well, yeah, you must have done it,
Yeah.
and you guys didn't
Yeah.
notice because you don't know and that type of stuff. It's like you definitely did it.
Hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
it's too easy to get caught up into that whole deal. So like having technology where everything is
Hmm.
there, everything's streamlined, everybody can see. Super super important, and it actually helps you guys when you're doing it to also keep on top of the project and look for potential problems proactively doing
Hmm.
it. So whereas if you're not and you're not focused on that, you might not catch everything that's there. So it's
100%.
I think it's a double-edged sword that way. Like you can, like in a good way, I guess. Like you
Hmm.
can,
It's
yeah,
a
win-win.
win-win.
So
Yeah.
that's what we've wanted to do. I think the time card thing's awesome. Like if you have guys that track your hours, there's so many different
Yeah.
softwares out there and so much different technology to use.
Yeah. And like the thing, I guess another with like the time card thing is people put like my employer shouldn't be able to track me. I was like, well, that's not what it's doing. It just like I can set a geofence around the job site and you can't clock in unless you're in it. That's like there's no like I can't tell where
Mhm.
you went for break. I can't tell how long you were at your house. Like all I can do is be like, hey, I need you here to be able to clock
And
in,
you
and
can
that's it.
set a
It's
pretty
cool.
good sized geofence. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not like or I mean even the automatic one, it's not like you have to be in this spot. You can be like in the area. And so that's like not a concern. And obviously, yeah, you're not tracking their location, which would be a concern people would have. It's like that's I'm losing my privacy. Like you can't know where I'm at all the time and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And then but like yeah, there's just little things that make construction easy instead of being this, like I said, this caveman style of doing things. It's like every GC that we use in the commercial world is using something like Procore or Bluebeam or Autodesk. Because, like I said, I'm getting everything on my phone. I can get my updates on my phone from the GCs. Like everything's in there. I can see conflicts with the other trades or like just all that sort of stuff or all my RFIs, all like punch list, all that sort of stuff just gets in here versus like, what do you want us to have a meeting every day of like, hey, you need to do this? It's just, yeah, it's funny that there's so much pushback against the technology, but it can make everything so much easier so long as the people in
Yeah.
charge of it are
Well,
competent.
and in
And
construction
like,
projects, the timelines are commercial construction projects. The timelines are super tight. And a lot of times you're signing contracts where
Hmm.
you have to be like in place at a certain time and get it done at a certain time, because if you're not, then it screws everybody
Hmm.
else up. There's a lot of unknowns, obviously, and
Hmm.
material delays and all that type of stuff can affect things, but you're contracted to be there at a certain time and to finish at
Hmm.
a certain time. So like having everybody aware of that and on the same page is important, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and it just makes it easy to have it tech versus like even just an email list of like that. Just eliminate that, have it on your phone as an app. It's all there. It's just I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I guess the one thing I would ask you is you because you're in a different space than I am. Have you ever been to a job site where they have like the QR codes everywhere and you can scan and see what you need to do? Have you been to
I
that yet?
haven't, but I've seen that.
Or is that or is that later in the process? That
I
later in the
haven't, but
process?
I've seen that online, and I mean, maybe I have. Maybe that would come in handy a lot if you're working inside somehow. I mean, if you're one of the plumbing, HVAC, electrical, or like finished carpentry, painter, like any of those people, it probably would be
Hmm.
really good to have those things where you can scan and look at. Where we are,
Yeah.
we deal with a lot of the trades, but also don't. I mean, like we're the building block part. We're dealing
Hmm.
with foundation most of the time. Like we don't really need to see that stuff, and it's pretty self-explanatory what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Because yeah, I see it like every once in a while, like even the Institute of Religion, it's like every room has a QR code or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
every space. So like I guess like we talked about before, struggle when like the person in charge has is the only person with the
Mm-hmm.
info on their phone or like the only person that has the knowledge of
Mm-hmm.
like what you're doing. Whereas like something in that or the technology or the software we've spoken about before, like CompanyCam, you could do this with. Is like you could be like, "Okay, I'm working in this area. All I have to do is scan that QR code or pull up on my phone in the app and be like, oh, this is what we're doing in here." And I can see all the details as the employee or the guy doing the work. And like I don't need to go track down Bob and be like, "Hey dude, what am I doing here? I know you have like 1,300 other questions to answer, but like I need you over here." So like it's just stuff like that's kind of cool. I guess it's like to us, it's and maybe the generation below us, it's a no-brainer of like, of course I'd pull up and scan a QR code. But like the generation before us is like, what do you mean there's a QR code? I just want to hold a menu, you know? And I get it to a point. Like I hate the QR code menus kind of
Yeah.
suck, but it's just yeah, stuff like that's cool.
That's
Or
I
like
actually forget that's a thing. The QR code menu deal. Like
yeah,
we've been into Texas Roadhouse a couple times, and it seemed like they haven't brought us a menu, and I don't really need a menu when I go there.
yeah.
Like I usually get a similar thing most places I go, but I'm like sitting there like waiting, and
Yeah.
like where's the menus at? And they've got it like right on the table, like right
Hmm.
in front of you. Scan the QR code for the menu. Especially when
Yeah.
COVID hit, and I was like so like lost and confused on that because I just was expecting a menu, and people made a shift to the
Hmm.
QR code thing so fast. It was kind of,
Yeah.
but
And like a little
yeah,
checkout kiosk, especially like Texas Roadhouse and Chili's are like, oh, you just check out on the app. I'm like, how do you know
yeah,
that I paid for my food? Like, so I guess I understand to a point of like technology's still scary, but like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah, it's there's just a lot of cool things. Like I was telling you too, is that job up in Montpelier, they have a
Mm,
drone. It flies the same path twice a day. And so it does updates of the job site, and that it has its own AI. Also coupled with the fact that like there's a dude that walks around with a 360 camera on his staff, like it's this thing, and he has points all over the job site. And he stops and it takes the
mm,
information it needs. But like the superintendent up there, bro, could show me. He's like, okay, go on the prints on our phone or on the computer, pick a room. He goes, I can go in that room, and because of both the drone and the dude with the 360 camera, he goes, I can go back in time and see how that wall was built. So like, say something got missed in the wall, and they're like, oh no, it's in there. He's like, I could go back and be like, oh, you forgot to put this pipe right here, because he can go back and like go basically make the wall opaque or see how the building process was because they do
yeah.
that every day.
Because it's
Or
the
like
end of every single day they do that. The guy.
it's like yeah, like beginning, middle, and end of the day. He like does the
Jeez,
walkabout and like has his little
that's a
points that he
lot.
stops at. And then the drone itself, yeah, it was wild. And then the drone itself, because the job called for it, the drone flew the same pattern as same like twice a day. And like, dude, that thing even wrote its own safety report one day. Like it was flying over, and the guys up on the steelworkers up on the roof, like someone maybe the gate was down or like they didn't have their like rail or something up, and it was just like, hey, by the way, I noticed this. Here's how to fix it, and send it. Like it's just an update on the
That's
GC's thing,
insane.
which is wild. Like, yeah, so like it's smart enough to do that, and then it's also like, oh, we can go back and see like, oh yeah, that was installed right, and like so it's like the GC's basically using their own version of what I do on CompanyCam to be like, hey, no, all that was covered. Like, so the client can't be like, well, I don't think this was installed right. And he goes, oh, well, here's how it was installed. Like, I can show you,
That's
you know.
wild.
So like that's
That's
yeah, it's crazy. And like I'm sure we're just scratching the surface of
yeah.
like what you could do.
That's crazy. That's something I've thought about before that could be cool, and it's literally already happening. Just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh my
Or like
gosh,
we
like basically
yeah.
real time progress, and uh, the one of the only
Hmm.
parts I've ever seen where robots could be like almost replacing people is just like progress, and um,
Yeah.
like that's an easy thing to be replaced, and something that I don't even know if I would say replaced because people don't do that, and it's kind of sucky because that people don't do that really. Like, sometimes GCs will be at the job or superintendents will be at the job, but most of the time, like where we are, they're not on the job every single day, and a lot of times they just do like a walk by. Oh yeah, okay, looks good. To be way more intentional about it like that, I mean that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure like bigger scale projects have way more that like because even stuff that we've done for SDO, like we're talking about, they have like 3D walkthroughs of the job and like things like that. Or like they've done whether they've taken the blueprint and done like an AutoCAD and made into a 3D and then like updated as it goes. And so like you could go like fly through the building, go to like whatever you're trying to do, and it can show you like, okay, here's all your measurements, all that sort of stuff. And I bet like larger scale things like that we're not involved in, or like, I bet there's just ridiculous amounts of stuff, or like I guess my brain goes to like even as simple as like think about the dude in the grader, like he has a
Yeah,
GPS on his thing now versus like the old dude that's like trying to do it by
jeez.
hand. Like that's super simple, but I'm sure the technology and like the large scale projects and how they do it is
Yeah,
insane. And like we're just scratching the
yeah,
surface of that, like I said, with stuff that's like makes it really
yeah.
easy for
Those
us.
those are crazy. I mean that for a while they've had the basically self-driving tractors that farmers can get like from John Deere that you're essentially it's essentially running your fields like you're just sitting there, just does it on its own through GPS and all that type of stuff.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then they've got the GPS systems on your skid steers and big tractors and stuff like that so you can and graders so you can essentially like just drive and it'll just do it. That's just
Yeah,
crazy.
it does the
That's
blade for
crazy.
you. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah,
I keep
it's a
seeing this
like.
ad about a measuring tool called Mosier,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, and the dude like walks and like up the
yeah.
stairs.
Yeah, that's crazy too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Freaking wild. I want to try it. I saw a video of a guy, it was a concrete guy using it, and I was like, okay, I kind of want to do that
Hmm.
because I've been thinking about it. You could like if you had like a funky driveway, right, where you're like up on a hill and you've got all sorts of different grade changes and elevations and it's all sloping weird, you could take
Hmm.
that to all these different points and literally get your measurements and your measurements correct. Like, because you can hold it down on the ground, you can
Hmm.
hold it up 4 inches to where your top of your concrete's going to be, and it will take that and literally make a 3D model of it. It's so crazy because it's
Yeah,
taking
that's dope.
GPS and elevation like measurements is essentially what you're doing.
Yeah, but yeah, then there's some old head that's like, I can do that with a tape measure, bro, and it's like, but why?
I
Like why?
yeah,
It's
dude.
just it's funny. It's funny how resistant we are to change.
Yeah, we are, and I think people just get worried that it's gonna like get out of control, or that it's gonna be too much of a pain to manage. I've heard that one before. Like, it'd be a full time job to manage these things, and I think maybe people don't understand how easy it's getting right now to use the technology. And once you get the
Hmm.
system in place, really is pretty easy to manage.
Yeah. I guess I mean we have my experience. What's like you like I guess are there did you see the things I use or like you're using Jobber, like how's that stuff working for you? Or like what could you see maybe in your field or your work that like would benefit you or how's that
Yeah,
working for
so
you?
we're starting to use Jobber, and I say when I say we're, I'm kind of figuring out the best way to implement it right now. The hard thing is, like I've said before, with us is we're pretty dynamic, and things change pretty frequently. And so our schedule's like
Hmm.
not even like 100% correct at the start of the week. We have it. We have like all of the orders in and projects scheduled about a week, 2 weeks out, like, but roughly scheduled. Because like every day we'll have a will call for, I don't know, three. I think he has like 3 or 4 trucks. Just a will call on, and then we just adjust as we
Hmm.
go. And as he gets like a cemented idea of what we're gonna do, like, okay, this job's ready. Okay, we're gonna be there this day. We've already looked. It's ready to go. There's no problems. We'll pour it Wednesday. But something will happen. There will be a fire needs to put out on a different job. Maybe we'll need to switch it around. Maybe we'll need to do that on Wednesday instead. Or people will have us in the
Hmm.
schedule, tell us when we need to be there, tell us when it's going to be ready, and then we go there a couple days prior, not even close. Not even close to being ready to prep. Excavators aren't even there, like we'll see plumbers haven't been there for the slab, like all of this type of stuff. So we have it like about a week out is pretty close, but then like day to day things
Hmm.
change, and then we'll try to like squeeze a little bit more in here and there, and it depends on like guys that we have. It's really hard to overload too much when we're so dependent on like weather conditions, other people being in the way, and then it's always different job sites all over the place, so it's kind of a pain to manage. So I'm trying to figure out a way we can implement a software that can be good for scheduling, and I think we can.
Hmm.
It'd just be getting on the same page about that. So I've
Sure.
wanted to
But I
try
guess
like a time tracking software too, but yeah,
hmm.
there's a few things I'm working through, and it's mainly me. And the reason I liked the company cam idea, and I can use Jobber for that, is because there's a lot of things that
Hmm.
I need to make sure I get done and the guys get done, that like if it's not written down
Hmm.
and I don't have it somewhere and I'm just going off of memory, it's super easy to forget. So, or I will make a mental
Yeah.
note of things and be like, oh, I need to do that, or oh, I need to go over here and check that, and that just goes, you know, right outside my
Yeah.
brain. It's like gone immediately. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so yeah, company cam and Jobber have integration. So it's like where you already have Jobber, if you add a company cam to the mix, it's like you could take the photo, or your employees could take the photos and like update. So it's like we have, say you have this invoice and this quote, or like, whatever the job site scheduled over here on Jobber. You can take company cam and add all of the information into, why do I have a fork? You can add all the information into your job. So it's like everything's all packaged into that
mm-hmm,
job site to deliver to the client or deliver to, whoever needs
mm-hmm.
the information. So it's
And to
it's pretty
keep for
sweet.
our own thing. And another thing too that you could do is we can go back, add in pictures to those jobs. Like, say we go drive by a job and see that they've got a car parked on top of their driveway with 4 inches of snow on their driveway and tracks going in and out of there, and they haven't
Yeah.
shoveled the damn thing, and like it seems like at all, and we just poured it last year. Like, we can go and make a note of that, so when
Mhm.
there's a problem, it's like, hey, my driveway's, popping apart like in a couple places. It's like, well, you didn't take care of it at all, and then people's favorite thing is to say is, oh, well, I shoveled it. I did shovel it. I'm like, really? What about this picture right here?
Yeah.
You drove by and literally saw.
Yeah.
So it's all that type of stuff. Like company cam,
Yeah.
there's a big use for that, and I don't think people are like. I think people's issue is they're not able to see how that can integrate into their situation, right?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, too, is like people are so stuck on the thought that like AI is going to replace their job. Where it's like bro, you do manual labor. Like I understand and what technology is capable of, but you're being pretty ambitious that it's going to come for your job versus like your
Yeah.
accountant.
I mean, on that note, I saw a video on TikTok of a guy that was like a AI expert and at the forefront of AI, and he was on. I think he was on Diary of a CEO. I think it was a clip from that a podcast.
Hmm.
Anyways, they were asking like I think Steven asked him what to do to avoid being replaced by AI, and the guy was like, "Go be a plumber. They'll never be replaced." And I don't know if I trust some random video I see from some random person, but at the end of the day, that's the prevailing theme going around that people in the trades are not easily replaced, um, and they're not
Hmm.
gonna be, and a lot of people don't want to believe that. I think people are like, oh yeah, everybody's gonna be replaced, but it'd be really hard to replace tradesmen. So like
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah, if you're skilled and can differentiate, yeah, if you're skilled and can differentiate yourself, like that's you're fine. Like, because I mean, there's been a bricklaying robot since the 80s, and like there's the block laying robot too, but it's like you watch those videos and there's still a guy with a level pushing it all back into place, and like
Yeah.
it's not the same,
Well, I mean, I
it's
posted a
just,
video saying people that concrete wasn't going to be replaced by a robot or AI, and somebody in the comments like I think we were pouring stairs, and somebody in the comments was like,
Mhm.
"Explain to me why a robot couldn't do that," and I was like, well, I mean, I guess it'd be hard to think through the process, but if you know how it's done, there's way too many details, way too many things that are like based off of feel and too like
Mhm.
dynamic and time sensitive, and um, it's just not gonna happen. It literally is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then their people's response is like, well, you know, I think they were saying something about how robots can do they're not like a stick, an arm, uh, like you see in I'm trying to think like in Star Wars. You know how in Star Wars where there's like a little freaking robot arm, and they're like that's not what
Yeah.
robots are like anymore. They're very humanoid, and I'm like that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it takes too much of thinking. It takes too much thinking and like analyzing and being dynamic and changes in the materials and all sorts of stuff. You can't replace that. It's the reason why the bricklaying robot hasn't
Mhm.
done anything. I mean, it's too much. It's too much
Mhm.
tweaks and adjustments for a robot to process and think through.
Yeah. And that's like, it's just, I don't know, it's interesting because even if you said like, say, say we do it as flat work and like outside looking in, it's like, okay, I could see where you could automate it that because like what's the cool hover cart thing called? The super
Power
trowel or
trowel.
whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about? The power trowel. It's like, okay, I could see where like that could probably be, coded to like do its own thing, but you're still gonna have to have a
Yeah,
dude there
watching
with
it
it.
because like they're
Like it's
not going to
yeah,
be able to tell very well what it's doing, right? How the material's reacting
yeah,
to what's going on. It might be able to do something, but that doesn't mean it's going to do it right. So that's why I keep saying that we have to change the way everything is done in order for it to be replaced, which I just don't see that
yeah,
happening.
yeah. No, the amount of money that would have to go into changing the entire infrastructure of our industry to have a robot like a who is
Yeah. So I
absurd.
mean, I thought you were going to say at first too about the laser screed because they have big
Mm,
machines that um, with lasers and I think even some of them have GPS or like 3D software that help them do different slope stuff. But the majority of people use them for flat surfaces.
mm,
Have like a boom and a
mm,
big flat bar that vibrates and stuff that pulls concrete down to
mm-hmm,
grade. That even has to have
mm-hmm,
somebody run it right now, and I don't actually see how that could be replaced either because it still takes someone watching what's happening to make sure that it's doing it
mm-hmm.
right. Even with the fact that they're literally just pushing it forward and pulling it back because it's the slump of the concrete, like how stiff or wet it is, will change the way that happens. And so like sometimes they'll have to re-screed things when even though they're doing it, it literally is laser controlled and they're like pushing the boom out,
Mm-hmm.
pulling it back, pushing the boom out, pulling it back, that type of stuff. It still
Mm-hmm.
is super, super involved. And yeah, there's just too many places where technology helps, but it needs a guiding hand. And
Mm-hmm.
I will reiterate my
Yeah.
point. that I've said before. Why do you want a robot that is so freaking good that it can 100% replace everything people do? Like, if we got to a point where
Mm-hmm.
robots were replacing tradesmen, we're freaking screwed. Okay, we're screwed. Literally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there's yeah, I think like there's a very large case point or like the technology is very helpful to us like this like the softwares you've spoken about or like the lasers or any of that stuff like it's very helpful but there's also a point of like there's a tipping point to where like okay that's not gonna
Yeah,
do it like yes we can 3D print houses yes we can do all this stuff but like the block laying robot it's literally like it can lay 3,000 block a day it's like yeah but it's not using mortar it's
yeah,
not tooling it and like there's still a
yeah,
guy walking it with a level to
yeah,
make sure that it's it's just there's always going to be even in that case like even if they make the bricklaying like or the block laying truck like even if they make that thing to where it's proficient and it's good at what it does and it does all that stuff like there's still some like if you're the guy like if you're the block layer it's like oh that's going to replace me it's like there's still a need for you to
yeah.
be there like you just need to be like if you're worried about it, be the one that figures out how to
Yeah,
run the
well, and
machine.
go also
Like
next,
it's
go
just
set that thing up on a freaking hillside or something, up on a house on in a mountain with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a
You're not
freaking
gonna
like very limited working space and stuff. I mean, you mentioned the 3D printed
yeah.
houses. Do those things, every time I've seen a 3D printed house, it is on the flattest piece of ground I've ever seen in my whole life. I've never
Yep.
seen a flatter piece of
Yeah.
ground here or even close. Like we don't even have that here. And that's what it takes to build that thing. And they got that big freaking cage around the place. Like you're not building
Hmm.
any sort of nice homes with that. I mean, it is like that is like so early in that technology. I just don't even see how that could happen either. Especially not where we
Yeah.
are cuz
Well,
it's a yeah, yeah, dude.
everything's
All over the place.
well, it's just like you said. Even that student housing building, like they built that on the footprint they gave you was literally it was a one lane
Yeah.
road around the building. Like that's all the space you got, right? And we're doing bricks
Uh-huh.
75 feet in the air. It's just yeah, and you got to move scaffolding, you got to move around that guy's boom lifts and all that stuff. It's just yeah, it's silly. But yeah, it's like I said, I think there's so much that can be helpful, but there's just a point, that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. It's
which
like
which
you see
people
stuff
are
with I
having a
don't
hard time differentiating between that right now. It's like what is like
right.
for you too much technology and not enough technology. Like a lot of people are saying a lot of things it's just too much of a hassle, I guess, to be useful,
Mm,
even though
hmm.
they're kind of just not seeing past the initial barrier to entry, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, and that's yeah. Like in masonry, we have like the things that come as like my exoskeleton or the mule. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the mule, but the mule is designed. It's like a. I posted a video one time of it. It's like a. It's basically a clamp, and it comes down and grabs
Mm-hmm.
the block like this, and like you can literally like you. It allows you to pick up a block with your finger, and you could go lay it and then set it down. So all the mule is doing is is replacing the need for putting all that pressure
Okay.
on your back, right? So like it picks it up for you, and then all the old guys are like, oh, it's slow, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. It's like cool, bro. I guarantee if you invested in one of those and gave me the time, because what it's designed to do is pick up like we lay 16-inch block at a time, right? Because that's a standard length. That thing's designed to lay 32-inch block, so it's doing twice. It's putting down twice the units every time it puts one down. And you're telling me that like if you had 6 months to a year with it, you couldn't figure out how to be the most proficient person with it, just like you did in like laying it. Like I guarantee you could figure out how to make
Yeah.
that thing fast. Like guarantee it. And it's just, but they're so stuck and they're like, nah, dude, I'm I do it this way. I'm the best. It's like, bro, I don't know. I don't want to be 50 years old and like
Yeah.
standing like this. I don't want to be the guy that like, well, I used to do it by myself. It's like, cool, bro. Like I use that thing and now like I'm old and I can still do all the things that I enjoyed that I'm not at work. I don't know. Yeah, like you said, it's just it's like the people see the barrier to entry like, oh no, like you said, that's a hassle. It's a hassle to take photos and use AI. But it's plausible that somehow this is going to replace
Yeah.
it or like that this isn't usable. Like
Yeah.
it's I don't know. The fork in the road's funny.
Yeah, yeah. I think it really just comes down to people being stubborn, and I think if more people tried to
Yeah.
use this stuff, it'd be probably better. I don't know, but like I told you before we
Yeah.
recorded, that we've had builders try to implement softwares before with us, and the way like we work. I'm trying to implement some stuff internally for us, and we're not even really going to be using Jobber for the invoicing because a lot of contractors don't really.
Mhm.
I mean, the way that we're set up, I mean, Jobber for the invoicing part probably wouldn't work for you guys either, right? I mean, you guys are.
Yeah, we're too big a scale. It's perfect for
Yeah,
my
yeah,
side jobs and like dealing with like little residential stuff because I can click
yeah,
it and go and then they can pay it. That's awesome. That's awesome about it. But like I couldn't use Jobber to do draws on like the student housing
yeah,
where it's this $2 million
yeah.
project, you know.
I think the way that a lot of like general contracting subcontractor stuff is set up, it doesn't necessarily work for. But like for homeowner type stuff, home service businesses and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's great. It's perfect. So I can
Yep.
see some use for us
Yeah.
there. But like we've had builders try to implement stuff before where, and maybe this is why people are so against softwares because I was telling you about we had one. They tried to implement it and they were like, okay, you guys are going to be here. You're scheduled to be here. The 15th of July, we'll say, right? And
Hmm.
13th of July rolls up. We get there, look and see, and not even close to being ready at all. And it still has us scheduled in, and we're like, what the heck? I thought this was like supposed to be the greatest thing ever, and this was supposed to help you guys like stay,
Yeah.
schedule us. But the problem is material delays and other subcontractors having to leave and not being able to get their stuff done, um, and being slow and not getting done on time. Like you can't hardly pencil everybody in to exactly in our industry because so many people are doing different jobs for different contractors every day. It's not like we're
Hmm.
working for one contractor for a month or something or on one project. We're doing a different project every day and it changes. That's probably why people don't see how it could work cuz things like that where somebody else tries to dictate what they're going to do with a software and it doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
I think two contractors tried to use it and both of them just didn't work very well that we in our industry at least. So there is that. I think that as time goes on and more people start using these things, more people realize how good it is.
Do you like, because like I said, for us commercial, you see like Procore, Bluebeam, and Autodesk, like for instance. Does it, and that's, pretty good because like I need it because like I can't, I don't have the ability to carry on 600 pages of a plan or like any of that stuff or like communicate with everybody that's in the trade. Like, do any home builders use anything like that, or is it all basically like just direct communication to the GC for each trade?
Direct communication with the GC for each trade. And I think if it was a big enough general contractor or a good enough, I think if a general contractor had that, okay, they would be like one of the best,
Hmm.
most efficient contractors out there. But it's maybe the initial setup is probably too hard and they don't really got the time and maybe margins don't allow them to use that or first or they don't see a purpose or a reason to pay for it or something. We don't really see it. I think that's one thing that kind of sucks. Shoot. Yeah.
Got your back.
Yeah, I think that's just the harder part on residential jobs. It's just smaller scale, and maybe they don't care as much. I don't know. It would be really cool. It'd be really
Yeah.
cool if people did that.
Yeah.
So we just like they'll send us plans digitally, and we don't really use, or they'll have the plans on site, and they're usually simple enough too. So we're not working on
Yeah.
building massive buildings
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have like 40 sheets in that thing that are like relative to like the
No,
pad you poured.
no, we've got the most we have is um, yeah, no, I mean, we do need to see the plans, but I mean, even, house plans aren't more than 10 pages for the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
What
fair.
you
It's interesting. It's just
yeah, it's just they
go ahead.
just residential games different. That's all. So,
Yeah. It's interesting like how different like because you're in the same trade, but like this version and this version are so wildly
yeah, I
different.
mean, even if you go to commercial flat work, it's like it's a big difference. So, I mean, you couldn't. You couldn't be like someone who's only ever done residential concrete and expect to go do commercial flat work. Um, but like
Mm.
my dad came from the commercial world. He worked in commercial flat work for probably 15 years, I think. And so we'll still do commercial jobs, but like little ones here and there, like
Sure.
maybe 10, 20,000 square foot buildings, like not that big. And we don't really have that much work in them either. So, but like if you go look at some commercial flat work jobs, they've got like a lot of work. They got a lot of work in there. They got a lot of days.
Yeah.
So it's the one thing about concrete that's a little interesting is depending on the job, you can have almost no prep and then you have one day in pouring. That's a lot of stuff that we do. It's like barely any prep. It's like an afternoon worth, and then the pour is a couple hours, a few hours, because we're a timed material. We can't just take however long we want on it.
Hmm.
We can split up the
Yeah.
sizes of the pours that we do, but at the end of the day, we need to get a certain amount done. Yeah, that typically
Hmm.
puts us on a job for one day at a time.
Yeah, it's not like the guys that are like that water treatment plant we did in Preston where it's like, they've been doing bar and forums and all that stuff for like two
Yeah,
weeks on end, and then they're like, "Okay, we're gonna show up at 1 a.m. and pour until
yeah,
like 5 p.m. and
yeah.
have fun." Like,
Well, and even so,
yeah,
we've done a
that's
few water tanks all now at this point. Well, a couple, and we've
mm,
we've only showed up to pour, even on those. Some so like
yeah.
the interesting thing about concrete is some commercial companies have they all in house. They do everything. They'll do footings, foundations, flat work. They'll do all of the rod busting. They'll have a whole like crew of people that are doing form work. They'll have finishers. They'll have one crew that does flat work, one crew that does footing foundations. In the residential world, it's all split up. Everybody does. You got a flat work guy, you got a footing guy, you got a foundation guy, depending on where you go. And
Yeah.
realistically, if you have somebody in the residential world that does all three, they usually suck, and I will take that to my grave. I've seen enough jobs from people that do footings, foundations, and flat work to know that the majority of them suck. So they just don't end up
Yeah,
turning,
it's
yeah, they
like
don't
the
turn out
same.
a good product. It's too different. Just because you're working with concrete doesn't mean it's the same
Yeah.
thing. So,
Well, you mean because the guy puts siding on the house, he can lay
yeah.
brick or no?
Well, and so you look at
Yeah,
exterior
at least I
companies.
see that.
You look at people here, the exterior companies are becoming more common to do everything. Like they'll have one company come in and do
Hmm.
the whole exterior of the house. But even they have different crews to do the siding and the brick or the stone or whatever. Like they don't have the same
Yeah.
guys doing it all most of the time.
Yeah, it's like a sub of a sub
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. And so but the thing with concrete is most of the time residential people do not have like it's one crew doing all of it if they do all of it. Commercial
Yeah.
crews, commercial
Yeah.
companies, you get bigger like that. You need to have those bigger projects. But are we there?
Yeah. And that's, yeah, I guess I
So
see that with like I said, you see it more residential of like the siding guy and stuff. But it's like the commercial like that. Those guys that came and helped us, they're an exterior company that does like stuff like anything installed, and they were just like ass at laying brick. But they were like, "Oh, we do exteriors, so like we have the equipment."
I remember what I was gonna say. Yeah, you mentioned the water treatment plant. So those guys probably did do every single part of the project, right? When we've done
Yeah, and it seemed like it was the GC's guys.
Yeah, we've done projects for a guy that's doing water tanks. He does them all over the place. We had one in St. George where we did the lid on it, and we had one up in Brigham City where we did the floor and then the lid.
Hmm.
And they had different people come in to do the foundations. They had different people come in. They had a company specifically to come in and do the ironwork, the rod busting, because that's like super labor intensive and not just something that, you know, people that don't do that for a living could do because there's so much
Yeah.
rebar in it. It's like you got to have professionals. So you get into worlds like that and you have specifics. You have people that do one job because it needs to be
Hmm.
really, really good. But we just came in, even on that project, we came in to do the concrete, the flat work, and it was 1 day for us. So
Yeah,
it's it's
like
interesting
the
that way.
specialist. Yeah, like whoever special, that makes sense, and like that's how you get a better product, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Real quick, you said you used some other software, right? For you, did you say what was it, PolyCam or?
I've used Polycam, yeah. So Polycam, we had a little partnership where it was like basically I could go. Polycam is something that like it had lidar 3D scanning, and I can't remember what the red one is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, um, so like I could take my camera and I could go walk. Like I used it at the Institute of Religion, and I did a walk, and it's like, when you get a new phone and you have to do like this thing with your face, right? And you got to get everything
Yeah.
in so you can do the face. It was that. So like basically, I had walked around a room, and it would like have me pause, and then it would intake all that info, and then pause and intake all that info, and
Mm.
I made a 3D scan of the room and like lighter, so I could see. It was smart enough that like I could see measurements, I could see what materials were there, like I could see all that sort of stuff, which was really
Okay.
cool. Like I haven't used it for anything else other than to like play with it per se, because like, I'm still old school in that sense, but like I could see where that would have a really big use case of like, well, I can just go do a 3D scan of the room, and then like I can go play with it. Like I can be like, hey, what's this distance? Hey, what's that material? All that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was really cool, like how because literally just used my phone and it had all of that in it.
Yeah. Well, certain trades would really be able to use that, like especially if you're inside, because you can take and I think I mentioned before we started that I've seen people use Who's Pro or How's Pro,
Yeah.
whatever it's called. It does the same type of thing where you can take 3D scans essentially of rooms and have a 3D rendering of the whole place. Just walk through essentially and video while you're doing it. Yeah, super cool stuff. There's a lot of really cool technology out there. And
Yeah.
if you've been listening to this and you've been thinking about it, what could it hurt to at least try to implement something?
Yeah, I mean, you get a free trial on a lot of those stuff. So
Yeah.
like if you're listening and you're like, gosh, the invoice app and like all those scheduling and all that stuff, just go to Jaden's profile, use the link, use his Jobber link. You can go get a
Oh, yeah.
14-day free trial, see if it works for you. And the
Yeah.
same thing with me with
Yeah.
CompanyCam and Busy. It's like at least you can try it, see if it
Yeah.
works, and like, oh, maybe this will benefit me, and then you're good.
And you'd be surprised how well it works. I know with Jobber and their time tracking, it automatically shoots it over to QuickBooks. If you use QuickBooks, I'm sure Busy does the same thing. There's a lot of things you can cut down on time instead of having the guys write down their hours and send them in and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, basically, like they just I don't know. They eliminate the middle point of contact. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just going to streamline this,
Yeah.
and it's really nice. So yeah, if you're not one of the cavemen who's stuck in this is how we do it this way, you want to try it out. Like, there's a lot of like you can try it, and it's not like I don't have to pay that thing up front and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that like can make your life really easy.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. Well, guys, this has been a good episode. I hope you got something out of it. And use some technology. Use some technology,
Yeah,
dude.
don't
Use it.
yeah, don't be afraid. Like just because one caveman discovered fire doesn't mean you can't use it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Jesse. And thanks
Yeah,
for
thank
being
you.
with us. It's been 6 months already. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I guess over 6 months now. And we will be back 2 weeks with a Q&A, and we'll make sure to let everybody know about that. And we'll see you guys then.
Yeah. Keep a lookout on the stories and join Jaden's channel on Instagram if you want some
Yep.
direct contact.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you, dude.
See ya.